Lost Sands ended last week, and amongst the news of captaincy coming in Season 7, I didn't get a chance to go over the phenomenal success of Lost Sands. Lost Sands was both the best adventure we've had so far, and the worst one at the same time, for reasons I'll go over throughout the course of the video. Firstly, let me just address the elephant in the room. The result. No, the result was not a fix. Rare would not go through all the marketing, development time, or planning just to fix the result and give us the illusion of choice. There are many factors that have been contributing to this discourse, and some of them do hold merit when held up to scrutiny, but no, Reapers did lose for a community vote, not because Rare only developed one outcome. Besides, Reapers winning would have been the most narratively interesting outcome, just from a storytelling point of view. I'll cover the things I loved about Lost Sands first, as Rare arguably got me more invested into the game more than anything in recent memory, and I think that was the case for a lot of us. The posters, the memes, the videos, the debates, it's all been a blast to observe and take part in. I had so much fun with the collaboration with Captain Blubber and producing the propaganda videos. I was very invested in the outcome of this, making that stream torture for me on results day. I was a little bit disappointed with the result. No one likes losing, but the fact I and many others must have felt is a testament on how well Rare hyped this up. Realistically, we don't know what the long-term effects of this is, but short-term we can expect Golden Sands to be rebuilt and Flameheart to strike back even harder. So maybe this was the best ending for me? I guess we'll never know the outcome if Reapers won. 99% of the community taking part in Lost Sands were superb, and there was a real sense of friendly competition and camaraderie with the different sides. In my Discord alone, we were having debates on the morals of each side, and the role-playing was hilarious. On a small note, both before and after the results, you had the sore winners and sore losers, which is just inevitable. I have seen some things online which are just, ugh, you know what I'm talking about. Another thing I loved about this event was that it actually implemented an element of player interaction healthfully into an adventure, be it positive or negative. There were plenty of occasions in which I had the chance to sabotage the opposite side, and vice versa. While not strictly PvP focused, the tension of having another ship doing the adventure in the Golden Sands area was a little bit nerve-wracking. Most adventures before were focused on the crew experience in the story, aside from the Shrouded Deep, but making the event interesting inside and outside of the game was brand new. If anything, this was an excellent piece of marketing. Another thing I loved was the opportunity to actually help the Servant of the Flame instead of being forced to side with Athena's Fortune. Don't get me wrong, I like the main characters representing the Athena's Fortune faction. However, the Servant and Flameheart are just more mysterious and interesting characters. The villains tend to be more complex than the heroes, albeit I wouldn't say that's the case just yet in Sea of Thieves, but a small window into the Servant's motives was awesome, particularly so when you consider his character in the books. That brings me to the next point, the return of the side objectives, the journals. While the Merrick ones detail how the islands were shrouded, it also gave us some insight into Merrick's own thought processes and his motives. Equally, we got a small peek at what the Servant wants to do, that is, banishing the trading companies. Even better, we have more details on his relationship with Wanda and the Catman, albeit at a surface level. Even speaking to the guy was a breath of fresh air, rather than just handing him 600k's worth of loot and then fucking off. On a similar note, Rare did an amazing job of making the stakes seem relatively balanced. Golden Sands was probably the best choice as it's maybe the most popular outpost. If this was another island, I don't think it would have been much of a fight. It was either save a beloved location or see the Reapers win. The final point I wanted to bring up was the excellent inclusion of the Soulflame rowboats. Well, just a simple twist on a tool we already have, adding an armed keg was the cherry on top. I managed to use 5 of these to sink other ships and even stole a Legend of the Veil using one. I am devastated to see these were removed and hope they return as a rare spawn. Either way, in the future I hope more tools are released with adventures. Now, let's get on to the not so good stuff, and I'm sure you will all know what I bring up here. The first big misstep was the confusion with the point system and what actually scored points for your side. There was some misinformation and misinterpretation at the start, this being that destroying Soulflame rowboats scored points for Merrick. It turned out this didn't, so a bunch of hunters wasted hours of their time doing this. I think this is the reason why there was such a big Reaper lead in the first weekend. Along with this, Reapers were misinformed that wood crates and fruit crates turned in scored points, which they didn't. Finally, it was unclear if turning in quest items to the other side worked as denial or scored points. Rare never really released an exact list of what was scoring points aside from this tweet on Monday after the event started. I understand the reasoning partially as they don't want people to abuse or min-max ways to score points. It would be a shame for that to happen. I guess we'll never know. More importantly than this, adding a small notification in the top right would have been a good way to let people know that their action counts, as aside from completing the actual quests, there was no real feedback. I think this should be implemented the next time we get something of this scale. In terms of this adventure being the worst though, it was the quest design. I managed to score 244 points over the 2 weeks and complete the Servant's Path around 40 times. The quests weren't the most engaging, and I chose the more interesting side in terms of gameplay. If you did Merrick's side, it was literally a fetch quest with infinite phantoms on 2 annoying islands to dig at. I would say it was the most uninteresting quest from a gameplay standpoint, but I suppose that's not what the adventure is about. On top of that, you don't need an overly complex quest if it's meant to be replayed multiple times. The final piece of feedback here is that the choice was weighted to one side from a storytelling perspective. In context, we spent the last 3 adventures with Athena's Fortune and Legend of the Veil, where they bang on constantly about how much of a dick Flameheart is. And for the most part, that's been the story for 2 years. We never really get an insight into the motives of the Reapers other than a couple of journals and a short speech from Junior. It would have been so much better to have spent some time with him before this choice, where we learn a bit more about his and his father's motives. Don't get me wrong, in no way should we have known what happens if each side wins, but knowing what each side actually wants would have been a great help. Having said that, I'm certain the upcoming novel will make some of you rethink your choice. In essence, I shouldn't have to play devil's advocate using subtext and inference to convince people that not everything is so black and white. At least that's to Rare's credit, and I did enjoy discussing the morals in my videos. So yeah, Lost Sands was an absolute blast, and I hope we get another awesome decision in the future, but this time, let's have Flameheart versus Ramsey, or Wanda versus Belle, or the Servant versus Duke, just to spice things up even further. That about wraps it up. If you liked the video, make sure you subscribe and drop a like to stay up to date with future uploads. Along with this, let me know how you feel overall about Lost Sands in the comments. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.